Welcome to the Tech Mobility Podcast.
I'm Ken Chester. On the docket, hydrogen is a viable choice, homeless flight attendants, and the 16-foot wide solution. To add your voice to the conversation, be it to ask a question, share an opinion, or suggest an idea for future consideration, feel free to call or text the Tech Mobility Hotline. That number, 872-222-9793. Or you can email the show directly, talk@techmobility.show. Be sure to check us out on social media and or wherever you enjoy podcasts. From the Tech Mobility News Desk, it's been 9 years in coming. This company, this EV manufacturer, is finally gone to market with its first product. And this was one of the first, I believe the first EV manufacturer we began to cover when we started our program 7 years ago. Of course, I'm talking about Bollinger Motors. And what I'm talking about is their B4 medium-duty EV truck. It is a cab-over truck it's a cabin chassis, actually, that allows different industries to put whatever bed they want on it. Anything from a stake bed to, theoretically, they could add an ambulance chassis. Anything that you can imagine, you can put on there. And it's pretty gnarly because when we first met Bollinger, they were an upstate New York company. A bunch of fellas got together. The founder was actually formerly women's makeup, sold their company, launched Bollinger to build a no-nonsense electric truck, first a pickup and then an SUV. And they did even get as far as prototypes. But as they continued on in development, they moved to Detroit to be closer to the technology and the engineers and the talent they needed to bring this forward. They announced through their development over the years that they would be reaching out to contract manufacturer. We've talked about the importance of contract manufacturing in the auto industry. And then at long last, they actually teamed up with Roush Industries, and along the way picked up an investment from a company called Mullen USA, which put in about $150 million for a majority stake, but it was enough. What makes Bollinger so special and so cool? They didn't spend tens of billions of dollars. They learned early that competing in the consumer, business-to-consumer space wasn't going to work for them. So they pivoted and they found a product for the chassis that they had been developing all along and continued to go for the medium-duty commercial truck market, where they believe they have the greatest chance of success. Now, bear in mind, there's a lot of companies that you've never heard of in that same space or close to it. But what works for Bollinger is their single-mindedness, their determination, and the fact that they developed a product that the customers wanted. It is a class, they call it the Bollinger B4 chassis cab. And it went into production at Roush Industries, which is a company that's actually doing the contract building for them, in the middle of last month. And they expect this Class 4 commercial truck to see its first deliveries in October, marking a significant milestone for the company. What is really cool about this? It has, for a vehicle, a rather large battery pack. Most cars and a lot of the pickups will run probably anywhere between as low as 30, maybe as high as 50, 60, 70 kilowatt hour battery pack, but usually under 100. The Bollinger B4 battery pack built into the chassis cab is 158 kilowatt hours. That gives it a lot of juice to do whatever. And they built this is a purpose-built Class 4 truck, EV truck, with a protected chassis design. And it got all of its accreditations that it needed, the EPA certificate of conformity. They've got major sales orders. And the best part, the B4 chassis cab is eligible for a $40,000 tax credit, wait for it, per vehicle. Part of the reason why that tax credit is so important, in the small numbers that Bollinger is ramping up, even though they've contracted it out, even though they have been extremely efficient with their money, these vehicles are going to cost at a premium above a comparable gasoline or diesel-powered Class 4 truck. So the $40,000 helps bring it down to parity at this point. Now, there's some point in the future where at a level of production that they reach and a level of sales that they may get it down to parity. Battery prices are dropping all the time. So as battery chemistries and the way of making EV batteries becomes more efficient and they find materials that are not rare earth or otherwise supply limited, the price of the batteries comes down. When the price of the batteries come down, the price of the truck will come down, which makes them only more competitive. I wanted to share this with you because, like I said, we've been following Bollinger Industries, Bollinger Motors, all the time that we've had this radio show. And they have trucks on the street. And most importantly, they are holding real orders. I do remember reading at some point last year that they actually had built some prototypes that they had ComEd, the New York utility, evaluating for use. So they got some real world feedback in what to build and how to build it. So I'm excited because not every company needs to be Elon Musk's size and spend billions of dollars. Done correctly, done smartly, they did everything right. They developed the design. They didn't reinvent the wheel by going and building a plant, having to hire people, buy all the machinery, deal with rare earth supplies, all of that. They built the truck. And they built a very, very good truck. And they took their talents that they had in the design and engineering of what they were going to sell. That's where they put their money. As a result, they have something. Now, the article does not say how many trucks that they've sold. All it says is that the company has already secured significant sales orders, demonstrating strong market momentum. I don't know what that means. For a small company, that could mean 200, 300, 400 trucks, which is still pretty decent considering Bollinger's size and Roush's assembly line. But I wanted to share that with you. All is not lost. We'll continue to see Bollinger do its thing and grow and still be in the game. But they basically could serve as a textbook case for everything that an EV manufacturer who wants to compete in this market with limited funding can do. You put your money where you can be strong and differentiate, and you contract out the rest, and you shift the investment, you shift the risk to somebody else, which is exactly what they did. Now, they still needed a cash infusion, but it was only $150 million. And I say only because on average, if you're going to be in the manufacturing of vehicle industry, you will be spending billions of dollars with a B, and I don't mean one or two. If you're Tesla, if you're Lucid, if you're other companies, you spent multiples of that by now to get to where you're at. But again, different business model. So on behalf of me, Bollinger, good job and congratulations. I want to pivot to something else before we get to the end of the segment. They've been promising us and teasing us now for almost 10 years the recreation of the iconic Volkswagen bus. It's called the ID Buzz EV, and it's an EV I actually took pictures of it at a Volkswagen event over a year ago in Huntington Beach, California. But it's coming to market as a 2025 with a sticker price of $61,545. It may seem like a lot, but I predict it will sell due to the novelty and nostalgia of baby boomers and others who want to get a taste of the original microbus. I fully believe that they'll sell it because they don't expect to sell a lot of them. So they've got their head on straight. Hydrogen is the overlooked choice in the rush to EV options. We discuss this unique fuel next. You are listening to the Tech Mobility Show.
Are you tired of juggling multiple apps and platforms for meetings, webinars, and staying connected? Look no further than AONmeetings.com, the all-in-one browser-based platform that does it all. With AON Meetings, you can effortlessly communicate with clients, host virtual meetings and webinars, and stay in touch with family and friends, all in one place and for one price. Here's the best part. You can enjoy a 30-day free trial. It's time to simplify your life and boost your productivity. AONmeetings.com, where innovation meets connection. Get started today and revolutionize the way you communicate.
Social media is the main place to be these days, and we are no exception. I'm Ken Chester, the Tech Mobility Show. If you enjoy my program, then you will also enjoy my weekly Facebook videos. From my latest vehicle reviews to timely commentary of a variety of mobility and technology-related topics, these short features are designed to inform and delight you. Be sure to watch, like, and follow us on Facebook. You can find us by typing the Tech Mobility Show in the search bar. Be sure to subscribe to our Facebook page. Social media is the place to be these days, and we're no exception. I'm Ken Chester of the Tech Mobility Show. If you enjoy my program, then you will also enjoy my weekly Instagram videos. From the latest vehicle reviews to timely commentary on a variety of mobility and technology-related topics, these short features are designed to inform and delight you. Be sure to watch, like, and follow us on Instagram. You can find us by typing the Tech Mobility Show in the search bar. For those of you that listen to podcasts, we have just the one for you. Hi, I'm Ken Chester. Tech Mobility Topics is a podcast where I upload topic-specific videos each week. Shorter than the full show, these bite-sized programs are just the thing, particularly if you're interested in a particular topic covered on the weekly radio show. From Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, and many podcast platforms in between, we got you covered. Just enter Tech Mobility Topics in the search bar wherever you listen to podcasts.
Something deep inside, a spirit of inventiveness, makes a car an Audi. So sure are we that this is the way to do things, we go beyond the warranty and pay for the maintenance. You drive the car, we take care of it. That's how much we believe the only way to build a car is with our soul, the soul of Audi.
What was going on back in the 90s? It seemed that all the manufacturers of upscale vehicles wanted to get this conceptual, esoteric, eclectic kind of commercial where they don't talk about as much about the vehicle as the aura around the vehicle. In this case, Audi touched lightly about free scheduled maintenance for the first 50,000 miles. But other than that, it's the soul of Audi. And I don't know if that sold any cars for him. I think the free scheduled maintenance may have. Not so sure that that whole soul of Audi thing sells. But honestly, and in fairness, most German cars, performance vehicles, if you love to drive, have a soul. And it's not too far from the truth. I just don't know if that translates into vehicle sales. But that was the early 90s. That was from 1994. It can be used in the chemical reaction that powers an EV fuel cell, or it can be burned in an existing internal combustion engine with little modification like gasoline. What is this magic substance? It's hydrogen, and our conversation about it is topic A. Hydrogen. When I speak of hydrogen, most people, particularly in transportation, talk about EVs. And certainly, hydrogen is used as a substance, as a chemical to affect a chemical transaction that generates electricity and gives off water as a byproduct. What most people don't realize, and we've touched on it a little bit in the show, but I want to bring you back, is hydrogen can also be burned like gasoline with little modification to existing engines. We're not talking tens of thousands of dollars of modification. We might be talking hundreds of dollars, if that. Imagine a fuel that you can use in a fuel cell for EVs, which alleviates an EV problem, which is refueling, and the time it takes to recharge an EV with a fuel cell. If you've got hydrogen, you're ready to go. Problem is their lack of infrastructure. But if you're in California and you're near a tank where you can tank up with hydrogen, you're good to go and you are refueled and on your way sooner. The other problem with hydrogen is how it's made. Right now, most hydrogen is regarded as what they call gray hydrogen. It is made from, there's a steam reformulation process using natural gas, which creates hydrogen from that process, which means that you don't get a net gain in terms of the environment, in terms of climate change. The only way that hydrogen works as a clean fuel is if you can get it produced where it's called green hydrogen. Green hydrogen is actually made, power input comes from renewable sources to power a electrolyzer, a water electrolyzer that splits atoms from water to create the hydrogen and store it. If you do it that way, then it's green all the way. Problem is, creating hydrogen, although it is plentiful in nature, but pure hydrogen is not, and it's hard to come by, and it takes a lot of energy and a lot of input to get the hydrogen. To give you some context, up till recently, out of all the hydrogen that's made, and it's used for many different purposes outside of transportation, only 1% of the hydrogen currently made is considered green. Now, hydrogen's a weird fuel because depending on how it's made, there are other colors. There's yellow, there's blue, I won't get into that. I'm not going to make your eyes glaze over. I won't do you like that. Regular hydrogen made from a steam reformulation process, which is how most of it's made, using natural gas as a feedstock, that's considered gray hydrogen. Green hydrogen is made from renewable energy and a hydrolyzer that breaks water down to create hydrogen. That is green energy. To a point, there are a number of plants in the United States being built, one in Louisiana and I think one somewhere else, I don't remember where they are building factories, manufacturing plants to make green hydrogen. How big is this market? Let me give you some numbers. The global hydrogen market, in terms of revenue, now please bear in mind, this is not just transportation. This is all uses of hydrogen, all commercial uses of hydrogen, of which there are many industrial uses, was estimated to be worth $242.7 billion. That was last year. It's poised to reach $410.6 billion, not quite double, but close, by 2030, little less than 6 years, growing at an adjusted rate of 7.8%. That is according to Markets and Markets. By contrast, in 2021, registered light-duty EVs in the United States soared to 2.13 million, a significant increase from less than 100,000 in 2012. That was before the start of the tsunami of new EVs that started to hit the market in 2021, 22, and 23. And we still haven't experienced the full brunt of everything coming. That will happen in the next 3 to 4 years. The surge in EVs on the road over the past decade have brought to light several issues that warrant either correction or an alternative option. This includes severe range reduction in cold climates. That's anywhere from 1/3 to 2/3 of the range goes poof when it gets really, really cold. I've experienced that. Insufficient charging infrastructure. That's an issue in the process of being resolved, but I think before a public charging infrastructure has any numbers will be the end of the decade. It takes time to build this stuff, people. In addition to the increased targeting of charging stations for copper wire theft, something I never realized, and rising energy cost. These challenges suggest a need to broaden the zero-emission fuel focus and explore complementary solutions, such as hydrogen. Why commercial applications are looking at hydrogen? If you've got a diesel engine, if you've got a commercial gasoline engine, you're not ready to go all the way to EVs yet, but you want to decarbonize. Hydrogen is an excellent way to do it because it doesn't pollute. The actual burning of hydrogen doesn't pollute. Doesn't even add to greenhouse gases. Does not. So it's a win-win whether you use it for a fuel cell or whether you actually burn the stuff. The question is, right now as always, infrastructure, infrastructure, infrastructure. That's the issue. Being a flight attendant was once regarded as a glamorous life. Today, your flight attendant might actually be homeless. This is the Tech Mobility Show. Do you listen to podcasts? Seems that most people do. Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the Tech Mobility Show. If you've missed any of our weekly episodes on the radio, our podcast is a great way to listen. You can find the Tech Mobility Podcast just about anywhere you can enjoy podcasts. Be sure to follow us. From Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and many platforms in between, we are there. Just enter the Tech Mobility Podcast in the search bar wherever you listen to podcasts. Social media. It's the place to be, and we're no exception. Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the Tech Mobility Show. Several times a week, I post to TikTok several of the topics that I cover on my weekly radio show. It's another way to keep up on mobility, technology, news, and information. I've built quite a library of short videos for your viewing pleasure, so be sure to watch, like, and subscribe. That's the Tech Mobility Show on TikTok. Check it out. During the golden age of air travel, flight attendants were considered to have a glamorous life, traveling across the country and around the world to beautiful destinations. High class and high living were considered the norm back then, but it's not today's reality. Chances are that the flight attendant serving you on that regional flight may in fact be homeless and on food stamps. Perception is not reality. This is topic B. When I did the research for this segment, it blew my mind. Let me start with an example. We will call her Kay. Kay had already worked a full day when Frontier Airlines called her to pick up a shift. The recently hired flight attendant had been awake since 4 a.m. driving Lyft, one of the few side gigs she could manage with her unpredictable schedule. Her new career was off to a rough start. There were 3.5 weeks of unpaid training. Her first few paychecks were lower than she anticipated. She gave up her apartment in Atlanta, where median rent is about $1,500, and had been renting a room from a friend. The only way to make ends meet, she said, was to juggle all the gig work she could find: Instacart shopping, pet sitting, Lyft driving. The rideshare company was offering a $500 bonus for completing 120 rides in 4 days. With her projected pay from Frontier Airlines of $23,000 a year before taxes and insurance, chasing the extra money felt necessary. So, from working for Frontier from 3 p.m. to 10 p.m., Kay turned back to Lyft. By the time she reached the bonus, she'd nearly gone 24 hours without sleep. Welcome to the new reality. We used to always think, flight attendants, wow, what a life. What an incredible life. You travel everywhere, you meet real cool people. Their first year income is less than half of the median income of the United States. It is even less than the average, according to the Federal Bureau of Labor Statistics, that a experienced flight attendant makes. So let's start with the numbers. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics data, the median pay for flight attendants was $68,370. That was last year. That's not even 10 grand above the median pay for everybody. However, the projected yearly pay for first-year flight attendants is much lower. And according to the Association of Professional Flight Attendants, $23,000 a year Frontier, $25,000 at Alaska Airlines, $27,000 at American, and $32,000 at Delta Airlines. And by the way, if you're a first-year flight attendant, Delta Airlines pays the most of any major airline in the United States for a first-year flight attendant. And bear in mind also, Delta is also non-union when it comes to their flight attendants. Delta says that figure is close to $34,500 when factoring in boarding pay and profit sharing. I want to give you something to compare that against, because according to the law, according to the Fair Employment Act, flight attendants get treated like pilots. But I want to read you what a pilot makes, because it blew my mind. So, against all the same being available to work, same thing like pilots, the median pay for airline and commercial pilots is $171,000, $210. Alaska Airlines CEO made $10 million last year. And the CEOs for Delta and American each made more than $31 million apiece. Let me read this again. You heard me right. First year flight attendant. First year, if they even survive it. And that does not include the 3.5 weeks of unpaid training they have to have. $23,000 at Frontier, $25,000 at Alaska Airlines, $27,000 at American, and $32,000 at Delta. And it's worse than that, actually. They only get paid if that plane's in the air. So time to board, which is go on the plane and be ready to go. Don't get paid for that. If the plane is on the ground, don't get paid for that. So that 8 hours that they do get paid is more like 12 to 14 hours that they have to commit to the job. It's not pretty. It's not pretty. And this piece is full of examples where flight attendants trying to break into the industry, staying with friends, relatives, living in their cars, or what they call crash pads, where a bunch of them get together and maybe rent a facility where they can crash between assignments. And it's just like sardines. They said it's between a bad hotel and a hostel, a European hostel, where they just cram them in. It's a place, it's literally room to crash. The only other industry I know that even approaches that is the railroad industry in terms of turning stuff around. But consider this, if you will. These flight attendants, the people you entrust your lives with, the people standing up there giving you food and having you follow the safety protocol, these are the people you get to count on if that plane goes down and you need somebody to help you get out, or to respond to an emergency, or to deal with an unruly passenger. All of that. While they're trying to balance their life, they can't pay their bills, and their home life is questionable. And it's not one or two. And it's not even just the first year. On average, to get to the decent money, it takes 12 years if they can hang on that long. 12 years. 12 years. Yeah, back in the day, they made, and Hollywood is to blame too, that if you were a flight attendant well-dressed, well-read, well-traveled, and well-paid, which is what they inferred as a result of all of that. You figured, all the perks that they must get from hotels and airlines, the opportunities, the insider knowledge, all of that stuff. Oh, man, what a life. Oh, man, what a life. They can't pay their bills. They want to be in the industry. For some folk, their best hope is start with one airline, get good enough to maybe get hired by Delta and make more money. Or to hang on, if you can, to get to a point where you start to make the money. But it's so many years into the plan, a lot of people just don't make it. $171,210, the median pay for a commercial and airline pilot. And that's not to say that all pilots make big money. I guarantee you, though, a first-year pilot makes more than a first-year flight attendant by quite a bit. That I will tell you. So the next time you fly, have some compassion for your flight attendant, because they're going through more than you probably realize. Well, you didn't realize it. I'm the one that had to tell you that they're there because they love to fly and they want to make it happen, but the money's not following them. So they're struggling, even as they're smiling and bringing their best to work. So a little kindness goes a long way, because you don't know. And that's my point. Always has been. You never know what people are going through. A 16-foot wide townhouse in Pittsburgh may just be the answer to the housing crisis. We are the Tech Mobility Show. To learn more about the Tech Mobility Show, start by visiting our website. Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the Tech Mobility Show. The website is a treasure trove of information about me and the show, as well as where to find it on the radio across the country. Keep up with the happenings at the Tech Mobility Show by visiting techmobility.show. That's techmobility.show. You can also drop us a line at talk@techmobility.show. Did you know that Tech Mobility has a YouTube channel? Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the Tech Mobility Show. Each week, I upload a few short videos of some of the hot topics that I cover during my weekly radio program. I've designed these videos to be informative and entertaining. It's another way to keep up on current mobility and technology news and information. Be sure to watch, like, and subscribe to my channel. That's the Tech Mobility Show on YouTube. Check it out.
Are you tired of juggling multiple apps and platforms for meetings, webinars, and staying connected? Look no further than aonmeetings.com, the all-in-one browser-based platform that does it all. With AON Meetings, you can effortlessly communicate with clients, host virtual meetings and webinars, and stay in touch with family and friends, all in one place and for one price. Here's the best part. You can enjoy a 30-day free trial. It's time to simplify your life and boost your productivity. aonmeetings.com, where innovation meets connection. Get started today and revolutionize the way you communicate.
Social media is the place to be these days, and we're no exception. I'm Ken Chester of the Tech Mobility Show. If you enjoy my program, then you will also enjoy my weekly Instagram videos. From the latest vehicle reviews to timely commentary on a variety of mobility and technology-related topics, these short features are designed to inform and delight you. Be sure to watch, like, and follow us on Instagram. You can find us by typing the Tech Mobility Show in the search bar. On a narrow lot in Pittsburgh, a new building is 3 stories tall, but only about 16 feet wide. While the shape is based on the constraints of the lot, it offers consumers, builders, and city planners an opportunity to address the larger home ownership problem. This is Topic C. Right now in America, it is getting tougher and tougher to own a home. Construction costs, land availability, inflation, which drove up mortgage rates, the need for bigger and bigger down payments, and people's financial situations all have conspired together, particularly in some municipalities, of a major housing crisis. I can go through a lot of different reasons for the fact that home builders are not building at the levels they used to. People's pay is not keeping up with the rate of inflation. as a result, lingering debt, lingering challenges from the pandemic may have dinged their credit. So that you've got that issue. And then just finding affordable housing, literally buildings they can afford. Let me give you, before I even get into this, just let me give you some parameters. I grew up in New England, Massachusetts. In eastern Massachusetts, there's something called a triple-decker home and a double-decker home. And basically what it is, it's a brilliant idea, is laid out in a triple-decker, 3 full apartments, 3-bedroom apartments, each in a story. So you've got a 3-story triple-decker. You've got 3 full apartments. And now I don't mean these small things like nowadays. I mean these things could be 1,500, 2,000 square feet. 3-bedroom, big places, raised families in these things. I remember when you could buy one for $500,000. Today in Boston, if you can find one for sale that is not beat down and beat up, it is $1.2 million, which boggles my mind. Keep that number in mind, because I've got a number for you about these townhomes, which kind of blew my mind. These new homes are factory built and designed to fill in the narrow and irregular spaces that dot a lot of urban inner city neighborhoods where you don't have the big lots that you might have in the suburbs. It's a way to turn around blighted neighborhoods, which maybe have been neglected for investment for years and years, but because of the layout of the streets, the availability of the lots aren't that wide. This townhome, having been built in a factory, which knocks costs down and also reduces the amount of waste on-site waste by upwards of 90%. They include something called an ADU, which is an accessory dwelling unit. This was a real big thing in California, or what they call a mother-in-law cabin or something on property, where it's already incorporated on a lower floor, usually a studio apartment shape, which you could have, like they used to call it, a mother-in-law apartment or the grandparent apartment, or you rent it out. Like a lot of buildings back in the day, they call it a garden apartment. And it helps defer the cost, which is basically, to me, a new take on the long-held values of back in the days, the double-deckers and triple-deckers. If you go into Boston neighborhoods, you see nothing but these. And these were built 70, 80, 100 years ago. These are not new buildings. They've been built forever ago. But yet, keeping their value because they're very much in demand. And you can't find them in metropolitan Boston for sale. This may be another way out. Renting out the 660 square foot ADU can help pay the mortgage for the 2007 square foot townhouse upstairs. Same math that went in to a family buying a triple decker. The family moved into the first floor. They rented out the 2 top floors. That money coming in for rent helped make the mortgage, the insurance payments, and maybe set aside some money for maintenance. That's the way it used to work. But the appreciation of what those buildings cost, at least in Boston and elsewhere, has put it to a point where the rents no longer cover the cost of owning and operating that triple decker, to the point where a family might be able to buy one, but they can't live there. They got to rent all 3 to try to make the numbers work. And even then, it may be close. And they're buying them further and further out in the state. The concept is dubbed the picket fence, the Pittsburgh concept, and was designed after a survey of 10,000 homeowners and renters that began early in the pandemic. What they found, and this is directed at a particular, the Gen X, Gen Y, Gen Z folk, and what they learned is that these millennials want a larger bedroom more rooms. And this is a layout that's very flexible. And millennials prefer having extra space in the primary bedroom. So this is the way they were built. What they are anticipating, and this blew my mind, the folks that developed this concept believe that continuing to refine the design and engineering, the cost of the home could be affordable for families making 120% of the area median income, meaning you had to be on the high side of the median income, not the average income, but the median income of a given community to afford this thing. And they said, and I quote, "The goal is to get these to a point where they could still be afforded by the masses." Well, if you're at 120% of median income, it means you're on the high side, not the low side, which means you're still up a creek. This particular townhome in Pittsburgh was listed for $930,000. And the developers hope that if the model is produced to scale, it could be closer to $600,000. Out here where I live, that is still 30% above what brand new homes are going for right now. And honestly, it's about 2/3 more, anywhere from double to 2/3 more. 50% higher to 2/3 higher than the average home goes for in central Iowa, even in the metro, where the average home price is closer to about $250,000, $260,000. $600,000, and they're calling that affordable. And that's if they get this to scale. Yeah, it's a cure, and it sure beats $7, $8, $9, $1 million. But we need a better answer than this. They really need to get it down. They need a plan to get this stuff down to $200,000 to $300,000, where people even have a chance at getting in. And even then, it won't be a first-time home buyer, more than likely. The housing crisis is real, folks, particularly if you've been out there trying to buy one. This is just one plan, and it might work in some cities, depending if you can even find available land to build them. And that's another problem. But for older cities, it might be just the thing, particularly if they can tinker with this and get the price down. I think they're going to need to be closer to $450,000 myself, as opposed to $600,000. I think as they get closer to $300,000 to $400,000, I think that's a sweet spot in most communities to make this happen and really make an impact. We have come to the end of our visit. Be sure to join me again right here next time. This has been the Tech Mobility Show.
The Tech Mobility Show is a copywritten production of Tech Mobility Productions, Incorporated. Any rebroadcast, retransmission, or any other use is prohibited without the written consent of Tech Mobility Productions, Incorporated.
For those of you that listen to podcasts, we have just the one for you. Hi, I'm Ken Chester. Tech Mobility Topics is a podcast where I upload topic-specific videos each week. Shorter than the full show, these bite-sized programs are just the thing, particularly if you're interested in a particular topic covered on the weekly radio show. From Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, and many podcast platforms in between, we got you covered. Just enter Tech Mobility Topics in the search bar wherever you listen to podcasts. Social media. It's the place to be, and we're no exception. Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the Tech Mobility Show. Several times a week, I post to TikTok several of the topics that I cover on my weekly radio show. It's another way to keep up on mobility, technology, news, and information. I've built quite a library of short videos for your viewing pleasure, so be sure to watch, like, and subscribe. That's the Tech Mobility Show on TikTok. Check it out. To learn more about the Tech Mobility Show, start by visiting our website. Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the Tech Mobility Show. The website is a treasure trove of information about me and the show, as well as where to find it on the radio across the country. Keep up with the happenings at the Tech Mobility Show by visiting techmobility.show. That's techmobility.show. You can also drop us a line at talk@techmobility.show. Do you listen to podcasts? Seems that most people do. Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the Tech Mobility Show. If you've missed any of our weekly episodes on the radio, our podcast is a great way to listen. You can find the Tech Mobility Podcast just about anywhere you can enjoy podcasts. Be sure to follow us. From Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, and many platforms in between, we are there. Just enter the Tech Mobility Podcast in the search bar wherever you listen to podcasts.